All right, let's dive in. We're about to uncover this incredible world of cunning strategy, political alliances, and some really high-stakes social maneuvering. And no, I'm not talking about Washington or Wall Street. We're headed into the jungle with our closest living relatives to explore the hidden politics of chimpanzees. So when you think about a chimp's life, what comes to mind? Is it all just instinct, simple, raw behavior? Or could it be something more? I mean, what if their lives are actually guided less by instinct and more by pure, calculated strategy?
Well, it turns out the latest science is painting a totally different picture. We're talking about a social world that is incredibly complex, super dynamic, and yeah, in a lot of ways, just as strategic as our own. So, let's break down how it all works.
Okay, so to really get a grip on their politics, we've got to start with the absolute basics, the fundamental structure of their society. It's this thing called a fission-fusion society, and believe me, it is the foundation for their entire social world.
So what in a world does fission-fusion actually mean? Well, it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. You've got this large community that regularly splits up, that's the fission part, into smaller, temporary groups to go do different things. And then later on, these little groups merge back together, and yep, you guessed it, that's the fusion.
It's this constant state of flux, you know? It all starts with the main community. That's kind of the home base, the stable part. Then you'll see these smaller parties split off for specific tasks, like, say, going to find food. And finally, they all come back together and fuse back into the main group. It's always changing.
And this incredible flexibility. I mean, this is the key to their survival. It's what allows them to adapt on the fly. Doesn't matter if they're dealing with food that's scattered all over the place or navigating these super complex, constantly shifting social situations, this system works.
Now, this kind of flexible society, it creates a really high-stakes world of politics, and this is especially true for the males. We're talking about a world driven by alliances, raw ambition, and that constant grinding need to protect their turf.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question. What actually makes a chimpanzee an alpha? You'd probably think it's just the biggest, baddest, strongest male, right? The one who can beat everyone else up. But the real answer? It's way more sophisticated than that.
So researchers have found this super clear link between a male's social game and his path to power. It's pretty straightforward. Males who build strong, numerous social bonds, they tend to get to a higher rank and they get there faster. But on the flip side, the guys with weak or just a few social bonds, well, their rise up the ladder is much, much slower. It's a really clear pattern.
So yeah, being big and strong definitely helps. Don't get me wrong, but it is not the deciding factor. At the end of the day, success in the chimp world is all about who your allies are. It's about building that crew, that coalition, that's going to have your back when things get real.
And you can see this cooperation playing out in some really specific ways. For one, they form these political coalitions, basically to team up and overthrow their rivals. They use these really distinct pant hoots. It's how they share information, communicate where they are, and rally support. And then there's the really intense stuff. They team up for dangerous border patrols, and sometimes that means engaging in lethal aggression against other groups.
So this really highlights how different the primary goals are for males and females. For the males, the name of the game is rising up that dominance ladder and defending their territory. But for the females, the goals are way more focused. It's all about making sure their babies survive and getting the resources they need to make that happen. And that focus on survival, that brings us to the world of female chimpanzees, which honestly gets overlooked a lot. Their social dynamics, they're not as flashy or loud as the males, but they're built on this kind of quiet power. It's all about social tolerance. Yeah, so unlike that constant jockeying for position you see with the males, female relationships are just built differently. Researchers point out that they selectively tolerate others, right? They're forming these long-term bonds that are all about mutual benefit. And let me be clear, this is not a sign of weakness. It's a really subtle but incredibly powerful strategy for creating stability and support.
So, okay, their political game might be a bit quieter, maybe a little less aggressive. But do not make any mistake about it. This social strategy is the absolute bedrock of the community. It is essential, absolutely crucial for the ultimate goal, which is the survival and success of the next generation.
All right, so we've seen the different strategies for males and females. Now we get to the big payoff. Why go through all this hassle, all this political complexity? What is the end game here?
The answer is actually really simple, and it's something tangible. It's territorial expansion. That's it. All of those alliances, the border patrols, the cooperation, it all funnels down into one single goal: winning more land for the community.
And the benefit of getting that extra land? It is staggering. I mean, get this. When a community successfully expands its territory, infant survival goes up by 25.1%. That's not a small bump. That is a massive, game-changing survival advantage.
And here's how it works. It's a really direct link. More territory means more food. Pretty simple. More food means the females are healthier, they're more fertile, and all of that gives their babies a much, much better shot at surviving. So all that politics, it pays off in the most fundamental way you can imagine.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what we've covered. First, chimp society is this super flexible fission-fusion system. Second, a male's status isn't just about being the strongest guy. It's built on these complex political alliances. Third, female bonds are incredibly strategic, and they're all about tolerance and survival. And maybe the biggest takeaway of all, these complex social strategies lead to real, tangible, life-or-death advantages for the whole group.
And that really leaves us with one last fascinating question to think about. If the social world of our closest living relative is this strategic, this political, well, what does that say about the deep evolutionary roots of our own societies? Something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.